I mean, the marketing campaign for this movie was amazing back then. Remember, this is 1996. The marketing campaign for this movie was pretty incredible. This started off with a promotion that began with a commercial that aired during Super Bowl 30 that previous January, and just from that point on, that was actually that was a big deal because it later led to the trend of using Super Bowl airtime for these advertising campaigns for the potential blockbusters of the year, which we still have to this very day. And not only that, you had Fox using promotions with Apple at the time, Coca-Cola, Toys. I think Toys R Us had a big campaign with them. Most Coors had a big campaign with them. There was just so many big. It was just a big marketing campaign, and that really led to the film's success because everybody saw this and was just like, man, like this is gonna. It's like they're hyping this up to be the next big thing. I mean, Fox went all in on the promotion on this. They even had a special that aired, which was basically a fake news report about the events that happened in the film. And Roger Ebert himself said that led to the film's success because of those trailers and the marketing campaigns. And it was considered a brilliant move. That was what Roland Emmerich used to do, did for a lot of his movies back then. He would just hype you in with that big push on these films. But that's kind of the thing with Roland Emmerich and these movies like this, because yeah, it's brilliant, it's a smart campaign, but Roland Emmerich is basically the equivalent of a snake oil salesman. He'll sell you on these ridiculous. He'll sell you on these big things, on movies like this, thinking it's going to be the most amazing thing you ever see. And then when you actually go to the movie, it really isn't. I mean, let me put it this way: the guy could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves, and they would buy it.
Ketchup popsicle? Yeah.
You advertise it like this, you've got audiences coming in droves, and that's exactly what happened because the film started opening in theaters on July 2nd, tying in with the time the story begins, and it was a big hit over the 4th of July weekend and went on to become one of the biggest hits of all time at that point. Only the second highest grossing film at that point behind Jurassic Park. I mean, it was that big of a deal, and it was a big hit financially. Critically, not so much, but you're going to see why in just a second, because I'm about to tell you why this movie was not that good critically. And but regardless, it was a huge deal when it came out. It was a big marketing campaign that helped the film really put this film out there to become the big hit that it was. It put Roland Emmerich on the map. I mean, you got some big names in here. This was Will Smith's big breakout role. This was the film that launched him into the superstardom, because the next year he'd have Men in Black come out, and then there would be there was a stretch for a long period of time that Will Smith had to have a movie open on 4th of July. It was kind of it almost was like a holiday tradition in a way to see a new Will Smith film on 4th of July, and it would usually be a big hit. But with all that said, the movie itself is not very good. I do not like this movie whatsoever. I mean, it's not a very good movie. I mean, everybody you talk to, people look at this movie and say that, oh, come on, it's just a popcorn movie. Can't you just have fun with it? You know, it's not supposed to be taken seriously. It's not supposed to be seen as a serious film. I mean, just go in there, turn your brain off, and have fun. Well, you know what? I think Nostalgia Critic put it best in his review. He basically said, let me tell you something. A water slide is fun. All the slipping and sliding, it's just great. But if someone took you off the water slide, shook you, gave you a nookie, and then spat in your face and put you back on the water slide, you'd be like, that wasn't fun. That was weirder than annoying. And that's this movie. I mean, I literally took that from his review, but it's basically the point of it's basically what this movie is. Like, it's not really as fun as you think it is. I mean, there's nothing about this movie that constitutes as fun. Yeah, some of the visuals look pretty impressive, and there is some good practical effects used in here, but other than that, though, everything else about the movie is just so generic. It's just so uninspired on so many levels. Like, the characters in this movie are basically just stereotypes. There's no character you really can relate to in this movie because they're all characters that we've seen done over and over again. Some is basically just, like I said, they're just stereotypes and cliches of characters we've seen in numerous films beforehand. I mean, Roland Emmerich had a period where he had a character like Jeff Goldblum in nearly every single movie he was doing at the time. Stargate, it was James Spader. Then later in Godzilla, it was Matthew Broderick. I mean, he was literally stealing from his own material here, and it was literally the same thing over and over and over again. And these are tropes that again would appear in Roland Emmerich films. Like New York had to be destroyed, Washington had to be destroyed in nearly every single one of these movies. And it's just like, dude, did something happen in those areas where you just had to just be like that? I mean, and like I said, you don't like any of these characters at all, and like the story makes no sense whatsoever. Like there's a storyline about Will Smith's character. He wants to get in on the fight. He wants to save the city, but because his girlfriend is a stripper, and that basically means that, hey, they won't let you. Sorry, you can't do that. It's just like, really. I just talked about a movie in the last episode, Striptease, where Demi Moore plays a stripper, but she was also an FBI agent. So it doesn't really. So that shouldn't really matter here, but. Nope, we got to do it here for the story, for the purpose of the story that we've seen done over and over again. It's just like, come on, man. And the stripper herself, and actually, let me think for a second. I was thinking about something that happened in the next movie because she returns again in the next movie. But guess what? She's a scientist now. So what? Like, I mean, just so much of this movie is just insane. Like insane of how. Just so generic and so lackluster it really is. It's just like, it's amazing that they went to they didn't really do anything of noteworthiness to make this stand out as anything unique or different besides the visual effects, besides the fact that besides the storyline that they have here, besides the effects that they have in this movie that are still pretty impressive for the time. That's the one thing I'll give this movie credit for. The visuals in this movie are still pretty impressive, but other than that, though, this entire movie is just nothing but characters and cliched little characters, stereotypical characters we've seen done over and over again. A story that should be so engaging, but it's just not. Yeah, it's got good action sequences here and there, but at the same time, you don't really get fully invested in this movie. And yeah, it was a gigantic hit at the time. It was a turning point for the Hollywood blockbuster that would later be used for over 20 years later. But at the same time, it's just not an inspiring story on any level, shape, or form. And Roland Emmerich, because he doesn't really give a crap what you think, made a sequel to this 20 years later because everyone was cramming for a sequel for Independence Day 20 years later. Not really, but they made it anyway because fuck you. I mean, that's pretty much the reason why. But yeah, that movie's terrible too, by the way. Independence Day Resurgence is absolutely abysmal. Like, no one was really asked for that. It was just basically a retread of this movie, which was already in and of itself a retread. It's just like, it's amazing that people consider this to be the new generation Star Wars. Like, you know what? Star Wars was a great film. The original Star Wars over almost 20 years ago, because they had great characters, they had a great story, they had great action. You got the action here, but the story and the characters are not that great in this movie. I'm sorry to tell you that, but then again, I'm part of a small group that thinks this way. A lot of people really like this movie. A lot of people consider it a classic. And like I said, we live in a country where freedom of speech is where we have freedom of speech. So go ahead and say what you want about to. And I have the freedom to say that I hate this movie. And I'm going to be one of those few people that says I don't really like it. And people are inclined to either agree with me or disagree on it. But that's the power of free speech. But yeah, I really don't like this movie. That's the bottom line I want to say here. That I really do not like this movie. It's just a really bad movie. It's got great visuals to it, some good action, but at the same time, it's just not fun. It's not a fun movie on any level, shape, or form, at least to me. But again, that's just my own personal opinion on it. I know it has a fan base, so what do I have to say? What else can I add to this one? So, but yeah, that's Independence Day, and that's the one of the two movies that we have here. Only one other company was bold enough to actually put another film out there, and that was, of course, Disney, and that is John Travolta in Phenomenon.
I always said George Malley has something extra to offer this world. I said that the day I circumcised you. Happy birthday, George.
Happy birthday, buddy.
It's great. It's great.
37.
Anybody see that? The light? There was a noise. Did you hear it?
The man's inebriated.
I'm not drunk. Can't sleep. Can you? What's happening to you, George? Lately, things have been so clear to me. Just understand quicker. I just can't stop feeding myself. I read three books a day. Ever since the sighting. Roger, it was a damn light.
Imagine doing what others only dream of.
Uma coisa para ficar melhor.
George, man, you learned the Portuguese language in 20 minutes?
Not all of it.
Experiencing what others can't understand.
And I'm trying to tell you that I think that there's an earthquake coming.
He's nice, isn't he?
Yeah, but he thinks he saw a UFO and he thinks he can predict earthquakes.
And believing what you never thought possible.
Ooh, repeat it one more time.
It's a damn mistake is what it is. It was supposed to happen to someone smart, but it didn't happen to me.
They're watching me so closely. I think I scared them. You're not alone. People have been doing astounding things we can't explain.
Can't they just look in his eyes and see who he is? Is it close enough?
You tell me.
It's pretty close.
What do you mean by genius? He's basically off the chart. I don't think he's testable. If you think that's something, you should see him move stuff with spring. Would you love me the rest of my life?
No. I'm gonna love you for the rest of my life. What is going on, George?
I don't know.
I mean, going up against Independence Day, this film still made over $100 million here in America, and it was a gigantic hit. I mean, it only cost $32 million, and it brought in $152 million worldwide, including the $100 million here. But yeah, it found an audience here, and it's an idea that sounds very intriguing. Like you have a story about John Travolta as this guy who suddenly gets turned into this genius with telekinetic powers. I mean, it's a concept that could be pretty interesting, and the movie does a pretty good job with it. I think it does a very good job making you question how is he doing this? How can he be the same person when he has this magic gift to him? I mean, in some areas, this could be considered the beginning of a villain origin story. I mean, that's pretty much what that trailer kind of sets it up to be, but it's never really anything like that. And I think the first maybe 2/3 of the movie, I think really is the strongest part. It kind of drops the ball at the end of the film. I feel like it takes a kind of predictable route we kind of expect to see coming, and I think maybe there could have been something really more had they done something a little bit more different, or came up with a little bit more of a question of a way that the audience can really figure it out for themselves. You don't have to have it spelled out for you, but the movie kind of basically spells it out for you when it's all said and done. And I think that was maybe the wrong decision to go with this type of a film. The performances overall are really good. You got John Travolta doing a good job here, Kira Sedgwick as his love interest, Forrest Whitaker, Robert Duvall, a really good cast overall here. Brett Spiner is in this again. He was also in Independence Day, needless to say, in a much more sane role compared to what he was in Independence Day. But I digress. Let's be honest, the real reason this movie, I think, really stands with people is because of the Eric Clapton song, Change the World, which is a really damn good song. I was just listening to it again before I recorded this, and that song still holds up after all these years. You can see why it's had the longevity that it has had. So, yeah, it's a great song. The score by Thomas Newman is very good, too. I mean, the movie isn't terrible. I would say I enjoyed it for the most part. I just wish that the end of the film was a little bit more, did something a little bit more creative instead of just going for the routine ending. I mean, it should have been an ending where you make the judgment for yourself. It should be ambiguous, is what I'm trying to say here. Like, you should be able to look at the situation here and make your own judgment of what what the story should end like. And it doesn't really do that. It feels like a film that it starts off really strong and then kind of tapers off a lot towards the end of the film. Not a bad film per se. I'd say I like it more than the stuff that I really didn't like about it. It's a decent film. It's a decent film. I'd recommend checking it out, especially if you want to see a good John Travolta performance post Pulp Fiction. This is one of his stronger ones. I really enjoyed it because of that. All I wish is that the ending was a little bit more ambiguous and is it makes you decide what's the better, which way the story should go instead of going for the obvious way. But again, that's just my personal opinion on it. So that's Phenomenon.
Find me a target. I think I know it, sir. Do you or do you not have a target? It's hard to make out, sir. Fire! Sir! Patella, is that one of our tanks?
A man with questions about his own conduct.
Losing a man like your friend Boilar. I've been there.
Must now defend the courage of another.
The White House has heard that we're considering the Medal of Honor for this chopper pilot who saved a bunch of guys on the down Black Hawk. Naturally, they want it for Veterans Day. Naturally. It's a woman. You didn't know? This is Captain Karen Walden. She's the first woman in history to be nominated for a Medal of Honor for combat.
I don't know if it was Captain Walden, sir, but that Huey saved our lives.
What happened out there, Sergeant?
You don't want to know what happened out there, sir.
Yes, I do. What happened next isn't important. It's what happened that night.
We stayed with Brady. I wouldn't risk your life. I won't risk his.
She sure as hell saved the lives of those guys on the Black Hawk.
The captain was hurt pretty bad. Look, I didn't want her out there in the first place.
In his search for answers,
What is it? Tell me, son.
the only thing more powerful than the facts he might find
No surrender.
is the truth he can't escape.
Fire!
He was like a brother to me.
It doesn't matter whether she gets this award or not. It doesn't matter whether I'm on this inquiry. It doesn't matter whether I'm in this army or not. I'm gonna find out the truth. I guarantee you that.
I mean, you see the barrage of talent that's all over this movie. Matt Damon, one of his early film roles. Lou Diamond Phillips. They even got Balky from Perfect Strangers in here, playing a very straightforward role in this, unlike some of the other roles he's played here in other movies. You got Regina Taylor, you've got Michael Moriarty from Law and Order, you've got Sean Astin, Sean Patrick Thomas. I mean, hell, man, one of the biggest stars of the movie. Corey Coleman is in this movie too. Let him explain it.
But I was in, the closest I came to my dream was in Courage Under Fire. Did you ever hear this?
No. Yeah, he was in it.
In Courage Under Fire.
No joke.
No, I'm not lying. The movie Courage Under Fire that he was in, I was an extra in that, and they actually gave me lines. Now, you couldn't hear them because I had to mouth them without saying anything. But
Carrots and peas. Carrots and peas.
Oh, it was better than that. People, if you look for Courage Under Fire, you'll see me in there, and I'm wearing headphones, and I forgot who the actor is that I'm next to. It's a famous actor. But I'm sitting up there, and they told me, now, don't say anything. Just do call signs. And at the time, I was in the National Guard. They said, so you're a military guy. You know, whatever military thing that you do, that you call out, do that. Just don't say it. Just mouth it off. Now, here's the thing, people. For all you lip readers out there, the military shit that I was calling out to people, I was calling out Cocoa Puffs, Captain Crunch, Frosted Flakes. You know, I was calling out cereal, man.
Count Chocula.
Rice Krispies.
Because where did they shoot that? Was it Killeen?
No, it was here.
It was in Austin?
It was in Austin.
Okay.
Yeah, I shot that here. Cocoa Puffs, Rice Krispies. You know, I was doing all that shit. And, you know, and the whole time, I almost couldn't do it because the whole time in the next room, Denzel was there. I even heard them doing some stuff over there. It's a dream of mine come true.
Maybe biggest star is a little bit of an over-exaggeration, but if you've been following my stuff for years now, over the past decade, and even before that, you know that Spill.com played a huge part in this website coming to life and eventually to this channel. And Corey, of course, is one of the main guys on Spill.com and now on Double Toasted. And he was in this movie as a cameo because they shot the film in Austin, Texas. He was in the National Guard when this came out. I don't know if it was around is when this movie came out or before then, but he was in the National Guard, and they basically told him, like as they said in that clip, to just you're a military guy, just come up with these call signs, and basically he just was mouthing these various cereal things like Count Chocula and all that type of stuff, and it's not really that significant to my overall review for it. I just wanted to bring that up because it's one of the 2 movies in 1996 that Corey actually had a notable presence in. We'll get to the other one once we get to Space Jam, but let's get to. But of course, the main reason people went to this movie is because of Denzel Washington and even Meg Ryan. Even though I think her star power was lowering a little bit than what it used to be, probably almost 5 years prior to this, but I mean, she's really good in the movie. I mean, this is a really solid film. I mean. And largely because of the leading actors in here. Denzel Washington, of course, is Denzel Washington. I've said it before, I'll say it again. He's probably the greatest actor we have working right now because he'll usually take a movie that should not be that great and he'll just give it his all. And really, like I said, I've said it before, I don't think I've ever seen him in a movie where he's not giving 110%, even if it could be the worst movie he's ever been in. He's still doing the best he can to entertain and show everybody that, hey, I'm a pretty damn good actor, and he more than proves it here. And Meg Ryan is overall really good in the film. I really liked her in this film a lot. I think this is a performance that gets very underrated by a lot of people, but she really does give it her all in this movie, and I think that's really one of the strongest elements to the film. You also have, it's also because of Edward Zwick. This is a guy that we've talked about in the past before. He's done great things such as Legends of the Fall. He's done Glory, About Last Night. I mean, this is a guy that has such a great track record, not just in films but also in television. This is the guy that also did 30-something and also was a big part of My So-Called Life. And it's just he's just such an amazing filmmaker, like not just a great writer but a great director too. And he creates a very damn impressive film that is very gripping. It's a very intriguing tale about this guy who. He's basically got to review these merits of this officer that's fallen, and he's also got to confront his own demons because he has some things going on in his past, and it's basically depicting the terrors of war. I mean, that's literally what the consensus for this movie was on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's literally showing that on screen. I mean, everybody in here is giving a fantastic performance, but not only that, you have great music to go along with it. This has got great cinematography from Roger Deakins. I mean, one of the great cinematographers of all time. I mean, everything about this movie is just so well put together. It's a strong, well-made film. It's a film that I can't recommend enough. If you haven't seen this movie, I'd highly recommend checking it out because it really is a really good, underrated film. I don't think a lot of people give this movie a lot of credit, but the performances in this movie are also good. I feel like if this movie had come out later in the year, this probably would have been considered one of the best pictures of the year at the Oscars, but for what it is, it's a really damn good movie. It's a film I saw very late on. I didn't see this until about almost 20 years later, and it still has had an effect on me ever since seeing it, and it's just such an amazing film. I can't recommend it enough. If you haven't seen Courage Under Fire, I highly recommend checking it out. You will not be disappointed by it at all. So, that's Courage Under Fire. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next movie, and that is Harriet the Spy.
Some kids collect insects. Others collect dolls. Harriet M. Welch collects secrets.
What was that? Shake it up, take a sip, and wish for what you like most in the world.
I want to see the whole world, and I want to write down everything.
Hey! What are you writing?
Notes.
Can we read them?
Can you read this?
There's no lead she won't follow.
Stop! Thief!
No question she won't ask.
Well, what do you eat for $1 million? Camel burgers, dried roadkill, and my dad's meatloaf.
And no way she'll ever get caught.
Where's my notebook? Looks like there's something in here for everyone.
You wrote down the truth in your notebook, and your friends who weren't supposed to see it did.
Harriet?
Harriet!
Harriet the Spy.
That's trouble. Paramount Pictures presents Rosie O'Donnell.
Golly!
Good friends are one of life's blessings. Don't give them up without a fight.
And introducing Michelle Trachtenberg.
Harriet?
Good soup.
In the first motion picture by Nickelodeon. See the world through the eyes of a spy.
I'm never caught. You're right. I'm never. Oh my God! We're one of them! Watch out.
Harriet the Spy.
Jamie, what is this supposed to be? No, Mom, don't touch it. I am a spy. Good life.
Harriet the Spy. Sneaking into video stores soon.
I mean, when you think of a movie by Nickelodeon, this is the first Nickelodeon movie to hit the big screen, you pretty much get what you expect here. I mean, interesting note, by the way, I don't think a lot of people realize this, but back in 1993, Nickelodeon actually made a deal with 20th Century Fox to actually produce movies based off of their shows. There was going to be a movie about Doug, there was going to be a movie about the Rugrats, there was going to be a movie about Ren and Stimpy, that were all going to be put out by 20th Century Fox, but unfortunately, that deal never came through because it was mostly because of Ren and Stimpy. They had a hard time making a feature film that was intended for children, for kids to see, based around Ren and Stimpy. I believe that was one of the reasons why they didn't do it. But of course, those movies didn't happen and then shortly after, when Nickelodeon got picked up by Viacom, which of course is Paramount Pictures, or is under where Paramount Pictures is at. And of course, the rest is history. They've been part of that studio now for over almost 30 years now, but think about what we almost had. We almost had the entire Nickelodeon lineup now under Disney. And think about what the ramifications of what would have happened if we had gotten those movies. If we would have gotten a Doug movie from Fox, if we'd gotten a Rugrats movie from Fox, a Ren and Stimpy movie from Fox, they'd all be in the Disney library. I mean, that's really incredible to think about. That's one of those stories that really... It's really one of those what-if stories. Like, what if that actually happened? But, of course, that didn't happen. There was a Doug movie eventually released by Disney, but it wasn't the same Doug from the Nickelodeon era. And once we get to Doug's first movie, we'll talk about that one. We also got a Rugrats movie, and we'll eventually get to that one as well. Still have never gotten a Ren and Stimpy movie. We've gotten reboots. A lot of them have been really good. Well, actually, we just had the Adult Party cartoon, which was a huge mixed bag of a thing. But there's a Ren and Stimpy reboot coming out soon on Comedy Central, so we'll see how that one pans out. But we're not talking about those. We're talking about Harriet the Spy. And when you look at the movie, like I said, you definitely get a sense that this is being shot like an episode of Pete and Pete blown up for the big screen. I mean, Michelle Trachtenberg was on The Adventures of Pete and Pete. Which is both kind of a positive and a negative. It's a positive because you get the sense right away this is a Nickelodeon project right off the bat, but it's also a negative because it makes it feel like it's more of a TV movie than an actual movie, especially when you consider the biggest star of the film at the time is Rosie O'Donnell, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Rosie O'Donnell was a big star, and I think her talk show, which went on to become a hit for a number of years, started around the time this movie came out, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know if it was right around this time or was it in the fall of that year. But that show came out around the same time as this, and I thought she was all right in this movie. I think she brought a lot of heart and charm to the role here, as does Michelle Trachtenberg as Harriet. Both of them work off each other very well. The kids themselves are not too bad either. They get the job done. They work well with the material given to them. I do overall enjoy the film a lot, but I enjoy more of the first half than the second half. The second half just doesn't quite work as well as the first, because you got its entire existence is there because of the infamous cliche of the liar revealed, usually something that takes up about 10 minutes of a film to stretch time out, but it's the entire second half of the movie, and it becomes boring and somewhat uncomfortable to watch at times. Like the scene where the kids are just throwing paint all over, and you just get so uncomfortable watching this, and yeah, you're supposed to hate Harriet for the stuff she does afterwards before she starts getting revenge on it, because she's getting revenge on everybody, and it's so insane that she has to be sent to a psychologist. But, you know, if every kid is throwing paint on you on purpose, wouldn't you do the same thing too? I mean, this is the definition of being This is a literal definition of being bullied, and, you know, it's stuff like that just, I don't know, it just doesn't make me really enjoy the second half of the film more than I do the first half. But overall, I will say that the resolution that actually happens at the end does work, and Golly basically tells Harriet to just apologize and lie, and how they present this to us. It's a nice little lesson on how to deal with the situation, so it does come around again in the end. And I still enjoy the movie. I do think it is a solid film. I think there are a lot of redeemable qualities to it, but when it comes to the cliches, I think it kind of falls flat where there's trying to be hard and life lessons told. It works fine for what it is. it's a very mixed bag film. It could have been a whole lot better for what it was, but I think it does its job just enough to recommend it. I think kids can really get into it, and I think adults can really get into it as well, but I just wish that second half was a lot more creative than what we got. That's just my take on it, so that's Harriet the Spy. Let's go ahead and take a look at our last movie, and that is The Visitors. Now, you might be wondering, this looks very familiar, and you may remember that there was a film called Just Visiting that came out in 2001 that was literally the same plot. It is basically an American remake of this movie, so much so that they actually brought in the stars of this movie, Christian Claver and Jean Reno, to come in and do that film. And I remember hearing about that movie. I just don't remember anything. I've never seen it before, so I don't know if it's really good or not. I still got a couple of years before we get to that film, so hopefully by the time that comes around, I'll check it out. But I was surprised. I did not realize that this was the film that remake was based off of. And supposedly there's a lot of these movies. There's a sequel that was based off of this particular film. They actually did a remake of a sequel to the American version, which actually came out 15 years afterward. And you see the premise right there. Basically a fish out of water story with a knight and a squire traveling in time to the end of the 20th century and finding themselves in modern society. It's basically a reversal of A Kid in King Arthur's Court, pretty much, where in that film it was the kid from the 20th century going back to the 12th century, and now it's the other way around. And I haven't seen this movie, and I don't really know if it's good or not, or the remake, honestly, but I mean, it does sound like a fun little premise, or something that could actually make for a really entertaining film, honestly. If you guys know what it is, how this movie is, or what the remake is like, let me know down below. I'm actually really kind of curious to see if it's actually as good as they're making it out to be, or was it just something that was just kind of a success that really didn't really do, that was just there and people went to go see it. I mean, I don't know. Let me know down below what you think about it, because I really don't know anything about the original film. So that is The Visitors, aka Les Visiteurs.
Universal Pictures and Robert Zemeckis. The Frighteners, a Peter Jackson film, rated R, starts Friday, July 19th.
So this is a film this is the first American film done by Peter Jackson, who had been best known previously for his work on films such as Dead Again and Heavenly Creatures. The interesting thing about this movie, actually, is that this was supposed to be originally conceived as an episode of Tales from the Crypt, a spin-off film of Tales from the Crypt. Like, we had Bordello of Blood, and we also had Demon Knight. I'm guessing this would have been the third film in that series. But they thought this film would be better off as a film directed by Jackson. They saw what he did with Dead Again. They saw his visual effects company, which had only been around for 3 years at this point, and they said, okay, we'll make your movie, and we'll put it out here. And everything seemed to go well, but then they had a rush post-production schedule because Universal was so impressed with what Jackson did with his original rough cut. They moved the film up 3 months, and I think because of that, the movie does not look as good as it probably should have been. Like, the movie is fun. Like, it is a fun concept. You got Michael J. Fox. You see Chi McBride, and also who's the other ghost in here? I can't remember the actor. Is it let me pause for 1 second. Jim Fife. That's who the other guy is. These are actors that work off each other very well. This has a really good cast overall. Trini Alvarado, Peter Dobson, John Aston, D. Wallace Stone, Jeffrey Combs. You got Arlie Ermey in here, basically playing the same role he did in Full Metal Jacket, which is completely pointless to the story, but it is still fun to watch him as a ghost in this. And Jake Busey's also in here as well. it's a fun movie. It's a really fun movie that I could definitely see as a Tales from the Crypt episode. This would have been a really interesting Tales from the Crypt episode, but when you watch this movie, the effects for this movie really do not hold up well on certain levels. Like, there's parts of the film where you could definitely tell they rushed the post-production because they were just so impressed by it, and they said, we'll put it up in the summertime instead of putting it out around Halloween. I feel like this movie, if they had just let them keep it where it was is in October, this thing probably would have done a whole lot better, would have looked a whole lot better. But as it is, it's still a fun movie. It's still a fun film. There's still a lot of good jokes in there. There's still a lot of good, nice visual effects in there, too, that still kind of hold up after all these years. But you could definitely tell that there is some dated stuff as well. But the movie overall is a ton of fun. It does deliver everything it promises. It really could have been a whole lot better had they had just let the film come out in October, let them take their time with the post-production. But the fact that they rushed it out and put it out there, I think that hurt them big time in the end in terms of the box office numbers. But the film has since gone to have a cult following, and it did lead to Peter Jackson getting these bigger and more prominent film roles. And I think this was the film, if I'm not mistaken, that actually got him the Lord of the Rings. Because I think that's the next film he did after that, and of course the rest of that is history. And now he's become known as one of the biggest directors of all time, and one of the most notable people behind the scenes of all time as well. And really, that's all I got to say about this movie. I mean, it's a great film. It's a fun film. The visuals, I think, definitely could have used a little bit, is that longer pushback from what they were originally going to do. But other than that, though, most of the visuals in here are fun. There are definitely some dated stuff. There's some stuff in here that's just kind of okay. But overall, the movie is very, very fun. I'd highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're a big fan of Peter Jackson's work. If you haven't seen this movie, it's kind of a must-see to see this film. I think you will not be disappointed by it at all. I just wish the visuals were a little bit better, but in some areas. But for the most part, the movie does carry enough of a load to really recommend it for what it is. I mean, it's a ton of fun. The Frighteners, can't recommend it enough. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Lawrence Fishburne and Stephen Dorff in Fled.
2, 3 on July 19th.
Got a foot.
Are you down for the chase? It ain't over. Let's do this. Man, rated R. Starts Friday, July.
Man, this movie got old pretty quickly. I mean, Lawrence Fishburne is a great actor. Stephen Baldwin, not so much. I mean, he is really annoying in this movie. He will get on your nerves pretty quickly, and it's pretty clear that in this movie that their chemistry does not work very well. You're supposed to follow these two guys. They're chained together. They're supposed to be together on this adventure, and Lawrence Fishburne, I think, can't take it in this movie. Like, there's times in this movie where he's literally looking at him like, dude, are you freaking kidding me right now with this performance? I mean, Stephen Baldwin is not funny in this movie. I mean, I've seen him be decent in some other films, but man, it's movies like this that make you realize maybe Biodome wasn't the worst thing you'd ever be in, because man, this is not a good performance. This is not a good performance at all, but it doesn't help that the script is pretty formulaic. I mean, we've seen this done over and over again, and the director of this and the writer of this, I think, have done much better works. This is the director that did Passenger 57, and also this is the writer of This Christmas, which is a completely different film from this, but I think it's a much better film. He also rewrote Be Cool. He's done a lot of other stuff that have been much better than this. This is just not an interesting movie at all, and it doesn't help that the chemistry between the two leads does not work very well here at all. It's a shame, too, because I think there is some potential here with this, but it's mostly been there, done that. We've seen the story done over and over again, and Stephen Baldwin, this just kind of kills it a little bit. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but his performance in Biodome was Citizen Kane compared to this performance in here. I mean, he gets on your nerves so fast. I ever seen the movie Deliverance, just like, shut up. Like Lawrence Fishburne looks at her in this movie like, shut up, just please, just shut the hell up. Yeah, that's Fled. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Michael Keaton starring in Harold Ramis's Multiplicity.
It's like work is first, and my family is a close second. I'm a distant third, bringing up the rear.
By a miracle of modern science,
I just need a little time for myself.
Doug Kinney is about to get the one thing he needs more of. Doug, your clone. Himself.
So, what do I feed it?
Now,
Between the two of us, we're gonna get a lot of stuff done. We're gonna kick some ass. We're gonna be awesome.
there are 2 Dougs to go around.
I did the dishes, now drive the kids to school.
Thanks.
2 Dougs to share the load.
When'd you have time to do all this?
I suggest we all do them every morning.
Find out what he had for breakfast.
But it's still not enough Dougs
I hate to ask you, honey, but could you pick up the kids?
to get the job done.
2, like in me, 3. Hi, how are you?
Are you nuts?
I've been working since I was 12 years old. It's break time. It is. And Doug, I think it's that 12-year-old that's saying, Doug, how about a visit? You need time for Doug. What a suck.
No, with 3 people
Meeting start yet?
Well, you're already in the meeting.
sharing the life of one man,
Did you see me in the meeting?
differences are developing.
What are you doing? I'm having a smoke. What's it look like?
Personalities are emerging.
I fold once. Tuck. Tuck. Fold. TTF. And no air is in there because what? Air's our enemy, isn't it?
And their problems are beginning to multiply.
Doug, I'd like you to eat 4. Where did he come from? We made a copy from 2. And you know sometimes you make a copy of a copy, it's not quite as sharp as, well, the original.
This summer, it's every Doug for himself.
Jeez Louise, how many of you are there?
See, safe with that razor? We take the blade out. It's cute, I think.
From the director of Groundhog Day, Michael Keaton,
Nobody has sex with my wife but me.
Andy McDowell,
When that woman wants something, Doug, there is no stopping her.
Multiplicity,
Hey, Rain Man, run back in there and floss yourself, buddy, all right?
So this is Harold Ramis coming up after Groundhog Day was a big hit, and he had done Stuart Saves His Family, which I think is a very underrated comedy that came out a year prior to this. And this is Michael Keaton's star power had been established with Batman and was kind of on the downward before making a comeback later on in the decade. It also didn't help that the movie kind of got negative reviews, but overshadowed mostly by the big success of Independence Day and a much bigger comedy that I'll talk about in just a little bit. But I think the movie actually is a lot funnier than I think most people give it credit for. I mean, this whole idea that Michael Keaton has never really made any good movies after he made Batman and Beetlejuice is just complete BS. I mean, he does this, then he follows it up with 2 great films, Jackie Brown and Out of Sight a few years later. Like, I think that we could put that. I think we could have put that narrative down easily at that point. But Keaton is just really funny in this movie. He does such a great job of creating these different personalities for these clones, and each one are legitimately funny to watch. I love the fact that every time they clone him by using a different clone, he gets stupider. The clone gets stupider and stupider with every one, and it's legitimately funny. And he actually has some nice chemistry with Andy McDowell in this as well. Andy McDowell, of course, previously teamed up with Ramis for Groundhog Day. But the effects in this movie really do hold up well. Like, when Michael Keaton shows up multiple times, like for 1996, it's amazing that these visuals still hold up very well. And Keaton is allowed to appear in the scene as many times as he does here. And honestly, the movie, I think, got overshadowed because, of course, of The Nutty Professor. That was the film where Eddie Murphy is playing multiple roles. He's not just Sherman Klump and Buddy Love, but also the family as well. And it's a far superior film. And I think that was really what kind of killed this movie's buzz back then. But really, when you look at both movies, obviously The Nutty Professor is going to win. Murphy overall transformed himself to play these multiple roles in The Nutty Professor. And Keaton, yeah, he does a great job creating personalities for these clones, but the effort that they went to in The Nutty Professor, I think, just pales in comparison to what happens here. Not to say that, again, not saying that Michael Keaton is bad in the movie. I think he does a very good job playing these multiple roles. This film is not up to par with some of Harold Ramis's other works, but I think it deserves a lot more attention than most people give it credit for. It's funny. It shows that Michael Keaton still has the comedic chops after all these years. The visuals still hold up. It's a genuinely funny comedy that I still think should get more love than it does. And I think it's a really good film. I highly recommend checking it out. Harold Ramis's Multiplicity. Fantastic film to watch with Michael Keaton in it. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of the worst movies of the year, arguably one of the worst movies of all time, and that is Shaquille O'Neal starring in Kazam.
O'Neal is Kazam. Woo! He's been a genie for 5,000 years, but he's never met anyone like 14-year-old Max Connor.
I own you.
Technically. Now, two guys who don't see eye to eye are about to butt heads, and the sparks are about to fly.
Next time you do that, I'm turning your brain to sight.
Shaquille O'Neal, Kazam, rated PG, starts Wednesday, July 17th.
So a white kid owns a black genie, and he basically is saying that he owns them. Yeah, there's certain elements there that the writers of this movie probably should have looked at and go, "Are you sure you want to go this route?" Because, oh man, Shaquille O'Neal, what happened to you, man? I mean, Shaquille O'Neal has proven to be a good actor. I've seen him in movies where he's actually been pretty good. I mean, Blue Chips was actually really good with him and Nick Nolte, and it's Scary Movie 4. He has a cameo in the opening bit of the film, and it's actually legitimately funny with him and Dr. Phil. But this is a mess, man. Like, what were they thinking? I mean, this is a film where I think they just had so many ideas where this could have easily been. They could have easily fixed this around, but I think this was a film that was kind of rushed because, of course, Shaquille O'Neal was still playing basketball at the time of this movie coming out, and I think he was still with the Magic at this point, or he may have just gone to the Los Angeles Lakers a year prior to this. I don't know for sure. Don't quote me on that, but because I know he was drafted originally by the Orlando Magic, and he was there for a couple of years, and I think maybe 96 is when he came to the Lakers. Let me double check that just to make sure. Yeah, it was 1996, so this was before he even took the court for the Lakers. Like, this was back before he and Kobe Bryant eventually teamed up and eventually created another dynasty with them. So, I mean, this was a film that was really. Shaquille O'Neal basically did what LeBron James eventually did by joining the Lakers. To just go out and do movies, do Space Jam 2, and become a producer and all that. And I mean, I think LeBron James is a far superior actor than Shaquille O'Neal, and especially in a movie like this. But really, you could just tell everything about this movie was rushed. There was nothing about this film that made a whole lot of sense. I mean, in the same year, we had Space Jam, with Michael Jordan in it. And Michael Jordan, it worked because Michael Jordan was playing Michael Jordan. It wasn't him playing a character, which I think Michael Jordan could play a character, but in Space Jam, all he had to do was play Michael Jordan, and it worked. And we'll eventually delve into that once we get into Space Jam. But in Kazam, this was just a bad idea. This was just a bad concept overall. Maybe it could have worked if the script hadn't been rushed, if there would actually been more effort put into it, if people would have seen the idea and be like, hey, let's look at this idea and figure out a way to actually make it work tolerable, make it something that doesn't feel like it's being rushed onto you. But man, everything about this movie is rushed and ugly. It's an ugly looking film. It's a film that's not funny. It's not creative. It wastes the talent that it has on board here. Some of the visuals in here look absolutely horrible. And man, it's just a mess of a film. It's just a film that is so bad on so many levels. Like, it's a movie that really is, like, I mean, but hey, at least Shaquille O'Neal even admits that he did this just for the money. I mean, the dude got paid $7 million to be in this movie, and he basically said in an interview, "When am I going to say no to that?" I mean, at that point, really, could you really blame him for it? I mean, this was granted. Keep in mind, this was filmed before he eventually joined the Lakers, so he didn't get that big payday until he eventually joined the Lakers. So yeah, you figure, you know what? On that level, I could see why he did it, but man, this is just not a good film. Maybe some people can see it as a so bad it's good type of movie, but man, this is not a good film. It's a mess on so many levels. It's Kazam. What the hell did you think it was going to be? So, anyway, with that said, let's end the show on a much more positive note. Let's take a look at our last movie here, Danny Boyle's Trainspotting.
What's on the menu this evening, sir?
4 friends are about to take on the riskiest scam in a lifetime of risky scams in the best reviewed movie of the year. Time magazine says Trainspotting is a jolt of pure energy. Newsweek calls it exhilarating. 2 thumbs up, say Siskel and Ebert. Interview magazine calls it massively entertaining. And the New York Times says it's hip, clever, and willfully outrageous. Choose life. Trainspotting, rated R, now playing in a theater.
This is, of course, Danny Boyle's second film, and it's the film that catapulted him into superstardom. In fact, it did that for a lot of people in this movie. Ewan McGregor, this was the film that eventually got him the role of the young Obi-Wan in Star Wars, in the Star Wars prequels. Johnny Lee Miller's in here, Robert Carlyle from the film Monty, Kelly MacDonald. Just this movie has so many notable names to it, and the film is really damn good. It's a film that still holds up after all these years. You basically follow this group of heroin addicts in this town, their passages through life, and they go through all these crazy things that go on, like the infamous baby scene is one. The infamous baby scene is one, for example, and beyond the drug addiction, other themes in the film include an exploration of the urban poverty and squalor in Edinburgh, where this is filmed at. And, I mean, really, that's pretty much everything I got to say about this film, because, sorry about that, I had a couple of burps there. So, anyway, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, you pretty much got the gist of what the movie is and what the movie's lasting longevity is. I mean, it's a classic film. It's the film that launched Danny Boyle's career into the stratosphere, launched a number of big people in this. It was voted one of the best Scottish film of all time, and there was apparently a sequel to it that I completely forgot even existed, but Danny Boyle directed it too. I've actually never seen it. I remember them talking about it. I remember seeing a trailer for it, and it just kind of went away. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's actually good or not, but there's a sequel for it somewhere, and hopefully some point down the line I'll definitely check it out. But really, it's a damn good movie. It's a funny comedy. It's got a lot of good emotional moments. The acting is top-notch. The visuals are still impressive. The weird, freaky moments are still very freaky. It's a film that has a legacy in the cultural significance. You see the scenes from this movie being parodied numerous times in other properties. Family Guy, Drawn Together, just so many other different things. I mean, what more do I even need to say about it? Trainspotting, it's a classic film. If you haven't seen it already, you're doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so.
You got a dog, Jake. What would you do? I figure there's a lot of people out there tired of all the raping, killing. They'd be sympathetic to a man who took the law in his own hand. Even if he is black.
Our society cannot condone men who take the law into their own hands, no matter what the circumstance.
How do you wish to plead? Not guilty, Your Honor. Yeah, you sure you want to be known as the man to defend him back? Murderer? Why toss away the promise of career?
I'd really like to help you with the trial. You ever seen a man executed? What I suggest you do is you go watch a man be executed. You watch him die. You watch him beg.
I don't like your politics, but you do have passion, and that's something Carl Lee needs right now, and maybe so do I.
If you was on that jury, what would it take to set me free?
You sat me down, and you said to me, what I can offer you is a chance to save the world one case at a time.
He's taking justice out of your hands and put it in his own.
Tell them boys we need some clan down here in camp.
I've been getting calls at home. Threats. Your marriage is on the rocks. You're about to have an affair.
Lately, you've become much more interested in getting your face on the news than what's going on with your own family.
Don't let those bastards grind you down.
I set out to prove a black man could receive a fair trial. That's not the truth. So until that day, we have a duty to seek the truth, not with our minds, but with our hearts.
Do you think he was crazy when he did it?
No, he wasn't crazy.
When I saw that blood, I got so scared because I thought that was you.
Drop the case. I quit now, and all this for nothing. No. You waged all our lives on this.
Do you think the jury should convict Carl Lee Haley? Objection! Turn him loose! Do you think they deserve to die, Mr. Haley? Answer the question.
Carl,
Did
don't
they
answer
deserve
that
to
question.
die? Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell!
So like I mentioned before, this is the second feature film Joel Schumacher did based off of a John Grisham novel. Of course, he did The Climb before that, 2 years prior to this. And you figure bring him back to do another one of these movies, and he did a good job with the first movie, The Client, and The Time to Kill is a pretty good film. Is it a great film overall? I won't go that far. I could definitely see when you look at this movie that they're trying to create a new modern day To Kill a Mockingbird, kind of, with Matthew McConaughey in the role of the Gregory Peck performance. Was it Gregory Peck? I've seen this movie 100 times. How do I not know who was in To Kill a Mockingbird? It was Gregory Peck. Like I said, it feels like they're trying to create a modern day version of To Kill a Mockingbird, with Matthew McConaughey's character trying to be the new generation, this generation's Atticus Finch. But this is definitely a much different feel compared to To Kill a Mockingbird, which is still a fantastic film after all these years. But this actually was a film that John Grisham did not want to sell the film rights to at first. It took Warner Brothers to give him $6 million to sell the rights off, and he basically got approval for the casting of the film. They actually wanted Woody Harrelson for the leading role in here, and Val Kilmer was also in contention, but they eventually went with Matthew McConaughey. And Matthew McConaughey, man, like, there was a time when people forgot that this guy was actually a pretty good actor, but then again, when you saw in multiple romantic comedies that are lackluster in the 2000s, that's probably a reason why people don't take you that seriously. But luckily his career did turn around, and he's kind of back to where he started at. And Sandra Bullock also got a big payday on this one too. I think she got $6 million for 5 weeks of work. And but yeah, the performances overall are what carry the film. You got great performances from Bullock and McConaughey. Samuel L. Jackson's great in this movie. He has that great line, "Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell." Kevin Spacey's very good in here. Oliver Platt. You got Charles Dutton in here. Brendan Fricker. Donald Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland you see in there. Ashley Judd. There's just a great cast overall here. The story we've seen kind of done over and over again. I don't think the case itself is that compelling. Honestly, it's not strong enough to really carry the flow of the film, but it's what the actors really do with these characters that keeps you invested in how this is going to pan out. I mean, it's a film that it certainly doesn't pale to compare to something like A Few Good Men, which I think is really the definitive courtroom film of this decade. I can't think of any other ones that come close to that. This one, The Client, maybe, but other than that, I think those two are pretty much about it. But this is still a solid film. It's still a very entertaining film. It works very well because of the performances overall. You do get invested in what happens. The story is very intriguing, and it's based off of one of Grisham's classic stories. I mean, it's a great movie. It's a strong film overall. Could the story have been a little bit better? Probably, to give it kind of a little bit of an edge. But for what it is, it definitely there were more positives to this movie than negatives. I'll give it that. And I think it delivered enough there to really recommend it. I think it is a strong film. The story could have been a little bit better, but as it is, it's still a pretty entertaining film. I recommend A Time to Kill. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. And speaking of Woody Harrelson, he had a movie come out this weekend with Randy Quaid. It was the follow-up for the Farrelly Brothers after what they did with Dumb and Dumber. And that movie is Kingpin.
He lost his hand. Then he lost his pride.
You wouldn't happen to have a Phillips head screwdriver, would you?
But when the man with the rubber hand meets the Amish kid with the golden arm, whoa, anything's possible.
Do not allow yourself to be corrupted.
Nothing can make me stray.
From the idiots that brung you Dumb and Dumber,
I will pay you $1 million to sleep with your friend here.
Kingpin, directed by the Farrelly Brothers, rated PG-13.
Nice little nod there to Indecent Proposal. Like I said, Kingpin is the follow-up for Peter and Bobby Farrelly after what they did with Dumb and Dumber, put their name on the map. This film, however, was not the big success that movie was. It only ended up making about $7 million over its budget, which I guess is considered somewhat of a success. You may back your budget, but at the same time, considering how successful Dumb and Dumber was, there was they probably were expecting a whole lot more. But interesting little bit of film trivia in my personal life. They actually shot a little bit of this movie down the road from where I live. When this came out when they filmed this around 95, I think, there used to be a little motel further down the road where they shot the film, and the scene where they shot the motel is where they shot a little bit of the scene in the movie where they're coming out of the motel room and there's the car right there, and they're talking to the girl in this movie, Vanessa Angel. That was actually filmed down the road from where I live. It used to be like a pool there, but now that motel and that pool is gone now. It's now a shopping complex down there. But I remember going down there when they were filming this movie. I don't think we really knew what they were filming down there because this was before the internet, so we really didn't. And we just saw cameras, lights down there, and people shooting cameras down there. So we were seeing what was going on, and then, lo and behold, it was actually a scene from this movie, which really, when you look at this movie again, it holds up very well. I think this is actually one of the stronger films the Farrelly Brothers have done. I think it's a little bit better than Dumb and Dumber, but it's a really good movie. It's a hilarious comedy. Woody Harrelson is very good in here. So is Randy Quaid. Bill Murray in this movie is fan-frickin-tastic. I mean, you could tell he's having the time of his life playing this role in this movie. Vanessa Angel has a good role as the love interest for the Woody Harrelson character. And Randy Quaid has a ton of fun in this movie. This movie is very, very funny. I would say maybe it's a movie that's a little bit ahead of its time. I don't think people really knew what to expect from this movie, despite the fact that these guys had just done Dumb and Dumber, and it's definitely very similar to the style of comedy in Dumb and Dumber. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know why people didn't go see it. Maybe it was because there was just too many good comedies coming out at the time. We had The Nutty Professor, Multiplicity had just come out, so maybe it was just one of those things where it was just in a crowded marketplace. But it's a really damn good movie. If you haven't seen Kingpin and you want to see the best of the Farrelly brothers at their finest, this is definitely one of those films to check out. It's a very underrated film from them, but I highly recommend checking it out if you love the Farrelly brothers' other comedic works. It's definitely worth your time. So definitely check that movie out, Kingpin. What more can I say about it? So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and it's Jackie Chan's second film of 1996, and that is Super Cop.
Capital of the world. There's never a cop around when you need one. But when this cop's around, one is all you need. Super Cop, rated R. Starts Friday, July 26th.
So this is a weird releasing strategy that they had for this movie. This is actually the third installment of a series called Police Story. In fact, Jackie Chan was surprisingly a character that he played in those films, the first and the second one. And this is believe it or not, he actually directed the first two of these films, but this time he didn't direct this film. This is actually the one that came before. Basically, we got this in America before Police Story and Police Story 2 came to America. As far as I remember, I know that there was a limited theatrical release in 2019, but I think these were out on DVD and VHS long before then. But I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to dig into more information on this, but I think this was the first one to come out here in the U.S., if I'm not mistaken, but don't quote me on that. I have not seen this movie. I've never seen this one before. This is a version that has the dubbing of both Jackie Chan and Michelle Yeoh in this film. There's a new score they added to this. There's a rendition of Kung Fu Fighting played with Tom Jones playing in the credits. There's a song specifically written for the film by Devo. This cut in particular cuts 10 minutes out of the movie, so it's nearly about an hour and a half long. And like I said before, I really don't know. I've never seen any of these Police Story movies. I'd never seen Super Cop before. I had seen Rumble in the Bronx. Rumble in the Bronx, I think I really enjoyed. I'd say I really enjoyed. I reviewed that one a couple months ago, in 1996, with a couple episodes ago, I should say. But here, this one, I don't really know too much about. I know this was one of those movies that came out when they were trying to push Jackie Chan as the next big superstar, and it did kind of work. Rumble in the Bronx, this wasn't as big of a hit as Rumble in the Bronx, but it did get people to notice the guy, and of course that eventually followed into what would eventually come from him the next couple of years. But like I said, I haven't seen this movie, so I don't really know too much about it, but I mean, it looks like it's the same kind of fun that was in Rumble in the Bronx, honestly, but I can't really say for sure. So that is Super Cop or Police Story 3, whichever way you want to look at it. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, and that is The Adventures of Pinocchio.
In the heart of every dreamer, in the imagination of every man,
We'll call you Pinocchio.
lives the possibility of a miracle.
Huh?
It's a kind of magic.
It's impossible. It can't be real.
Do you see what I see?
Where are the strings? Is he a boy?
He's a puppet, and he's worth a fortune.
I want to purchase your newest creation. It's not for sale.
I'm sorry for not being a real boy.
You just gotta wise up, Pine Cone. You're a puppet.
Wait, Pinocchio, stop!
Bring me that puppet.
Hey! Come with us, we're going to the greatest place! There's no school, no rules, you can do whatever you want! And it's just for boys. I'm gonna be a real boy!
Meet the Pinocchio you thought you knew.
You're not lying to me, right?
Until now.
Hey, Woody. Woody.
Academy Award winner Marvin Landau. Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
I'm a boy.
And the magic of Jim Henson's Creature Workshop.
How about carving me a girlfriend?
The Adventures of Pinocchio.
Well, I'll give it this much. It was certainly more intriguing and more entertaining than the recent Pinocchio films we've gotten. Except, of course, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which is a great film. But I'm talking more about Disney's live-action remake of Pinocchio, the Pauly Shore Pinocchio, that terrible Roberto Benigni Pinocchio from 2002. I mean, at least this movie was at least trying. I mean, you basically get the story of Pinocchio that's been told time and time again, except this time in a live-action format. It's directed by the guy that did the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. The overall result is a noble, ambitious adaptation that doesn't really come together as well as I think they wanted it to. I mean, the casting of Martin Landau is actually pretty good. I think he does a pretty good job at here, carrying a lot of the weight of the movie. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, I think, is perfectly fine in here. He does best with the material that's given to him, but they do work off each other very well. You can believe the scenes that they're in. Some of the visual effects are definitely nicely done. There are some, though, that are really, really dated. I mean, just watch the scenes with not Jiminy Cricket. It's not Jiminy Cricket. It's actually the cricket. The cricket in this is named Pepe. Except that if you notice in there, Don Rickles is doing the voice, I think, for him in that there. But in the actual movie, it's done by David Doyle, who you may know as the voice of Grandpa on the original seasons of Rugrats. He was also in Charlie's Angels. Which, yeah, but either way you look at it, those effects really do not hold up well. The donkey transformation scene, it's a fun idea, but those effects really don't hold up that well. Pinocchio overall doesn't look too bad either. I mean, he looks like he's a nicely done visual effect. The effects are done by Jim Henson's Creature Shop, and I get the sense that maybe if Jim Henson was still alive while this was being made, we probably would have had a better movie. Like I said, the overall story is kind of what you expect. You get a lot of the stories of his life you'd expect. His school experience, being sold off to a puppeteer, going to Pleasure Island, or in this case, it's called Terra Magica. That's all expected stuff. There are some changes to the story, stuff with the Magica sequences. The Monster World scene is replaced as the climax for more stuff at this place. The story is just okay. Nothing about it really impresses, and again, the visuals really don't hold up well as some of the other ones do. There are some that still hold up, but other ones, not so much. That's probably the best way to describe this movie. A movie that's trying its best to do something on par with the Disney classic, but it just can't come across anything as just a mediocre film. It's not terrible, it's not god-awful, but it isn't that impressive either. It's just kind of the run-of-the-mill. There certainly is possibility for a better movie that could have been made with this concept, but honestly, compare this to some of the other live-action adaptations we've gotten. It certainly beats the crap out of that terrible Roberto Benigni movie from 2002, and the Disney version, the Disney live action one by Robert Zemeckis we got recently. I mean, especially, and even the Paulist Shore animated one. I mean, I'll gladly take this over any of those versions. But honestly, if you're looking for the best version of the story for a modern generation, I keep saying it, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I mean, it was one of the best movies from last year. Won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. I mean, what more can you say about that one? This, I think, is just okay. It definitely could have been a whole lot better, but it certainly could have been a whole lot worse. It's just kind of a mediocre film. I saw it once. I'm kind of glad I saw it, but honestly, I really have no intention on going back to seeing it again. So, that is The Adventures of Pinocchio. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, and that is Joe's Apartment.
When we at MTV decided to make our first movie, we knew the kind of hero America was yearning for. Someone young, fearless, and resourceful. A survivor. We came up with Ralph.
Give me a kiss, babe. When Joe came to town, he got the typical welcome.
Hands up, pinhead!
job.
How am I supposed to get a job looking like this?
No girlfriend.
Billy,
So we greeted him with open arms.
my first place.
All 6 of them.
You can talk.
Sure. And what do we get for it? He hates our cat. Let's have ourselves a little rodeo. Leaves food everywhere. Very appetizing, Joe. And lives like a total slob. He's a natural pest. Yeah, he's perfect.
This summer, we cordially invite you to spend the night at Joe's apartment. The party never ends. The dates never stay.
I wouldn't mind fondling her. Personally, I'm a leg man.
And the surf's always up. Joe's apartment. Sex, bumps, and rock and roll. What more would you expect from MTV?
What do you say we all go out to the snack bar?
Well, I mean, for MTV, I mean, that's pretty much kind of what you expect. I mean, they really went in on the fact that this was MTV's first feature film. And this is actually one of 2 movies MTV did with Geffen Pictures in 1996. The other one is the far superior film in Beavis and Butthead Do America, but we'll eventually get to that one once we get to Christmas time. This is based off of a short that you used to see on MTV during the commercial breaks. If you had the I Want My MTV videotape, that's actually on that tape. And for what it is, it's fine for what it is. It's definitely a very fun short. Taking it as a movie, though, it's complicated. I will say this, though. It's notable for a couple of reasons. One, it's the first movie by MTV, of course. They've made movies since then. 2, this is actually the first film that Blue Sky Studios was attached to. They worked on the animation for this. They did the animated commercials before this. They did the sequences for the cockroaches. They actually blended scenes with puppetry, real cockroaches, and stop-motion animation to make some of these scenes. It made 20th Century Fox look at this and say, we want to acquire you guys, and eventually turn that into a feature animation company, which we saw what happened with that. They created the Ice Age movies. They made the Peanuts movie, made a whole bunch of other movies, and now they're no longer there because they've been absorbed into Disney. But this was the first film that they got their attention for. Most people really didn't like this movie when it came out. For me, it's one of those nostalgic guilty pleasures for me. I will say that as a film, it doesn't work all the way through. It's not a very strong movie overall, and they do a little too much to get this to a feature-length script-wise, but I mean, it's Joe's apartment. You pretty much get what you get if you've seen the shorts. You do get some very abundant... The laughs you get are definitely abundant, depending on how you love the short. I thought that worked well enough. I thought they maybe took it a little too much to try to get this to a feature-length film, but like I said, I've seen a lot worse. It's perfectly fine for what it is. Is it necessary? No, but it's still fun. It's still fun if you watch the short, if you watch this back when this movie came out, which I did, and I think it works very well on its own on those levels. I think it is a guilty pleasure film. It's not a great film per se, but if you grew up with the short, if you grew up with MTV back then and what they did for comedy like this, you definitely get a good kick out of this movie. I enjoyed this film a lot. It's a guilty pleasure film for me. I thought it was a fun ride. Joe's Apartment. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next movie, and that is Stonewall.
So which of you, he or she?
You know it ain't hip to call it DQ.
Never been over like this before, baby.
This is actually one of 2 films that was made about the Stonewall riots, which this movie is about. Of course, the events that took place in 1969, a big moment for the modern American gay rights movement. And this film is basically a fictional account of the weeks leading up to that event, inspired by the memoirs of the guy that wrote the story for this, Martin Duberman. The notable name in here you'll see is Guillermo Diaz, who was more prominently known in films like Half-Baked. He's been in a bunch of other movies since then. And the film is shot in a unique way. It's directed in this documentary style with interview footage spliced into the film. There was also lip sync numbers put in there by the actors involved in here. As far as the film goes, I really don't know too much about it. I don't really know too much about these riots in particular. I haven't seen the other movie they did with this, the 2015 one. So I don't really know too much about the story or if this movie's any good or not. I see it's got some pretty decent reviews there, so it could be something interesting to see. It could be something intriguing, but I don't really know too much about this to really delve into it a little bit more, but it looks like it could be something that could be interesting. It's something that looks like it could be intriguing, but like I said, I don't know too much about it, so that's pretty much all I got to say about that one. That's Stonewall. Let's go ahead and take a look at the last movie that we have here, and that is Manny and Lo.
The day our mother died, Lo hid the station wagon behind the garbage dump just in case. That summer, she ran away from her foster family and so-called kidnapped me from mine. We just stuck to Lo's #1 rule. Keep moving and you won't get nailed.
So the story is that you have two sisters. One is played by a young Scarlett Johansson, one of her early film roles. The other is played by Alexa Palladino. They run away from several foster homes, sleeping wherever they can, including model homes. But when Lo becomes pregnant at 16, the two find that they can't make it through a crisis on their own. With nowhere else to turn, they try to kidnap this woman, but it's from a baby supply store, and she just may need Manny and Lo as much as they need her. So, that's really all I know about this one. This is another one I haven't seen before, but this is one of Scarlett Johansson's early film roles. It's just, as I said, got some pretty mediocre reviews online from what I see from it. It might be one of those films that might be good, but it could also be one of those kind of Oscar baiters type of films, a film that's just trying to pull these cliches out to make something intriguing, but I don't know. I haven't seen the film. It's got Scarlett Johansson in an early film role, so maybe it's got a potential to be good, but it's not something I really want to rush out to see. So, another quick one on that one to wrap this one up. That's Manny and Lo.